Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Norwalk Talks. We have our second opportunity to talk to a mayoral candidate here, VINNY SCICCITANO. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for having me. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. And I think that it's important that we have this conversation because Norwalk has a long tradition of building, Norwalk ACTS has a long tradition of building connections and coalitions in the community. And we believe collaboration begins with cultivating relationships. And getting to know you as a person is important for voters. And there will be plenty of opportunities for us to hear about your campaign and vision for the city of Norwalk. But let's just talk, as Vinny, and I want to know you as a person and what inspired you to step up to serve and represent the residents of Norwalk. So today's conversation will focus on what motivates you, your values, and the important lessons you've learned throughout life. And I'm looking forward to this authentic opportunity to meet you and talk more with you. So what? Well, how are you today?
I'm doing very well today. I'm doing excellent. Wonderful.
Good.
It's a wonderful day.
It is a wonderful day. I can't believe it's almost October.
I can't believe it's very warm out, but it is almost October, and it's nicest time of the year. But
yeah, it is warm today.
That's one of the aspects of Norwalk I really like in this part of the country is we have the four seasons. I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Me too. The fall is a beautiful time, but I do like that it's still a little warm. Yeah. Okay, so what? Like you are born and raised in Norwalk, which I love that.
Well, actually, a small correction. I was born in Stamford.
Okay.
I was born in Stamford, and my parents lived in Stamford on Stillwater Avenue. That was a large Italian section of Stamford at the time. And then I was just a baby, an infant, and my parents moved to Norwalk. So I've been in Norwalk 64 years, but I did come as an infant.
As an infant, you were like corrected. I love that. And so you raised your family here.
I raised my family here, yes.
So I want you to talk more about that. I know you are in East Norwalk. Okay. And tell me more about why do you stay in Norwalk?
Well, that's the second correction. I live in the Cranberry section of Norwalk. I grew up in Central Norwalk, not far from where we're recording the studio. My mother and father still live not far from where we recorded the studio, probably a mile as the crow flies. And so I'm a Norwalker through and through my entire life. My business is in East Norwalk.
That's what it is.
Yes, yep. and I have a special love for East Norwalk because of the water. I'm drawn to the water. I love the Long Island Sound. I love the Barrier Islands. The environment is so important to me. So that's why I really love East Norwalk. But I live in Cranberry, and it's a nice area, and I chose that area to raise my family because we wanted a house with a bit of a yard. I wanted to be able to throw a ball with my kids. I wanted to be able to have family over and have a barbecue, play a little bocce in the backyard. So that's why I chose that section of town when I was purchasing a home. So that's how I ended up there. But I've been in Norwalk my entire life, and I just love it here. I love it here. My family's here. My friends are here. My life is here.
Yeah. 64 years. That's amazing. And so your business being in East Norwalk, tell us about the roots and why you love East Norwalk.
Okay. Well, my business is in East Norwalk because it was just a matter of opportunity that I ended up there. I started my first business in 1983 on a Putnam Avenue where now the mall is. Putnam Avenue barely exists, just a little sliver of it. And then through eminent domain, they made us move, and I lost that business. I had to start all over again. And I started in just shy of 2000. I purchased the building that I'm in because there was not many places to actually go at the time. So I purchased that building because it became an opportunity there, and it just fell in line perfectly because I absolutely love that part of town. And I felt like I could become a real a positive factor to the community in that part of town by being there and getting to meet all the residents there. And, most of my customers are from East Norwalk, but people come from far and wide from all around to see us. So it really is a close-knit family of people in East Norwalk, and it always has been. It's been that way since I was a kid when I used to ride my bicycle to the beach. And a lot of these families are still there. The generational families are still in East Norwalk. And those are some of the people that I'm trying to help. This is one of the many reasons I'm running for mayor, because I feel that they're been disenfranchised and not been listened to, and there's a lot of cases of that, but I can give you a lot of instances. But this is what I'm hearing from the people that live in East Norwalk and the people that I talk to every single day, is they're not happy with the direction of Norwalk in general, but to their neighborhood, they're not happy with the direction of East Norwalk especially.
I understood. So it's funny. So I'm assuming your kids went to Cranberry. My son goes to Cranberry now. So I'm in the area every day, and it's a beautiful area. And so I'm happy to hear more about like the fact that you are connected to your community, that you want to elevate voices that have not been heard, and I think that's deeply, deeply important. So tell us more about what are some of the influences that that have what are some of the biggest influences, whether it be a person or maybe even some experiences that have influenced you who you are today?
Okay, well, there's quite a few, and I look back when I'm thinking about that question. I remember all the people in my life that made such an impact in so many different ways. I will start at the beginning. I also went to West Rock School, and my kids went to West Rock School, and just a fantastic, fantastic school. But at the time, there was a teacher there. His name was Stephen Jarvis, and in my lifetime, he was the most amazing teacher I've ever seen. I've respected this man incredibly. I still to this day, every once in a while, he pops up on Facebook with a comment. But he was so amazing with the students and the kids and how he could connect with every student from every walk of life. He had this ability to do so with a smile on his face and a warmth that just omitted from him that you were drawn to. He was just absolutely amazing, and and how he worked with the students in all different ways was just amazing. I had this really quick, funny story about my friend who I grew up with in a neighborhood, and he was kind of a little rough around the edges, kind of young person, and you could see that he was, maybe falling aside from his studies, and he may be, struggling in school. So this fellow Stephen made a test for him. This fellow Steve Jarvis made a test for him. It was absolutely hysterical. He puts it in front of him, and it's something along the lines: if you stole 4 hubcaps and you stole 5 tape decks, what's the ratio of So he kind of did funny things like that, and he that laughed. But I think that he ended up graduating, going through that class and got a very, very good score.
Because
so he was a way to connect with people,
Yes,
even on a comical way, in a
Yes.
humorous way. That he was really funny. And like I said, it just was, you stay after school just to hang out with him. He would play basketball with some of the other teachers in the gymnasium.
Yeah.
And you'd go there and just hang out with him. And that is from a teaching aspect or an educational aspect in Norwalk. I was just so amazed with him that it's just stuck in my mind forever. And there's so many examples of that in Norwalk. We have the greatest teachers and the greatest principals. They're just absolutely amazing. And I can see to this day how they connected with my kids and how they connect with all the children. So he was an important part of my life growing up.
Yeah, I think it's important that we elevate teachers. They take care of our kids, and they're taking care of the future generation. And so I love that, the fact that you were able to style step and find a way to bring that person in and not let them fall by the wayside. I think that's super important. So tell me more about like a decision you've had to make or an experience that has changed the direction of your life.
Well, the decision I had to make that changed the direction of my life was, there's so many, but I will say that I think looking back, I've led a very blessed life. My parents are still with me at 87 years old. My kids are all happy, healthy, graduated from college. My daughter's a teacher. My family in the education system, we're all healthy. We're prosperous. I would say that my life has been very, very good through what I've been taught from my parents and people that influenced my life as far as hard work. And the one thing that has really affected my life tremendously is the idea that you live your life for others, that you do all you can to help someone. And that's the most beneficial way to add to your life, is to spend your life doing for others all that you can do, and it comes back to you 10 times over. I'm a firm believer in karma, that when you do well for people, you do good for people, you take care of people, it comes back to you multiple times over. So that's, getting involved in the nonprofits that I've been involved with and the different organizations that I've been involved
Tell
with
us about some of them
to raise money
want.
for.
Yeah.
It's been so rewarding. And when you base your life off of that premise, only good comes from that. You're truly blessed. So I have a blessed life. I really do. And the fact that I'm able to make a stand and try to represent the people in this community in a positive way just adds to that.
Yeah.
Just adds to that life experience for me.
Absolutely. And in being a business owner, I think it's also super important because you're able to support and you're able to uplift the community in various ways and economic development. I think that also adds to just your work. And so even around some of your customers or even some of your employees, I think that is also just very, very helpful in being a business owner here in Norwalk, wouldn't you say?
Very, very much so. And through my business, my corporation, we donate 10% of our corporate profit to local nonprofits every year, and we have for all these years to help out. I've had at any given time anywhere to 10 to 12, 14 employees at a time. And there was a young man that worked for me that wanted to purchase a home, was struggling. We made sure he got the down payment to buy this home. And he's just a wonderful young man. He has 5 children. Since then, one of his children just graduated from Boston University.
I love that.
So, it's called that pay it forward. That's a saying? I don't know, it's the lingo, pay it
Yes,
forward.
yeah.
Help someone else, help them up, help them improve their lives. And it comes back. And he's been an incredible part of our business all these years. So that's a plus. Like, goes back to what I said. You give and you get a lot more back than you give.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I appreciate you hearing about just, your family, and that, your parents are still here. And are they still here in Norwalk?
They're still here in Norwalk. They're about a mile from here.
Yeah.
They're about a mile
I
from
think
here.
it's amazing to have that generational connection here. And I think that's what makes Norwalk so beautiful, is that the families of people, the generations of people who are continuing to stay here. What keeps you grounded? I'm sure you're running a campaign, you're running a business. What keeps you grounded or helps you navigate some tough choices, being a leader, in the community as well as in your family and with your business? What keeps you grounded when you have to navigate tough choices?
What keeps me grounded is my family, like my children, my wife, my parents, my brother, my niece, her children, and my very, very close friends. They keep me grounded because when I approach anything, whether it be an issue concerning leadership in this community, a business plan, anything along those lines, I say, are they going to be proud of this decision? Are they going to stand by my side with this decision? Are they going to help me and advise me with this decision? So everything that I do is grounded in the family and what is going to be best for the family and is going to make them proud. And that grounds me, and as well as the friends that I've acquired throughout my entire life, become friends with, that are involved in the community, that help this community. They keep me grounded because they keep my eye on the prize. They keep me focused on what I'm doing. And they're able to do so in many, many ways. One of the ways they've helped me tremendously as of the recent couple of weeks is to fight the negativity. When you have people that have negativity or anger toward you for, whatever reason they want, it's easy to just turn tail and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. But I recognize that what's important is Norwalk and the people that live here, not my feelings, not what you may imaginarily think I am. So I keep my eye on, once again, what's best for Norwalk, what's best for the people that live here. And I mean everyone that lives in Norwalk. So, I can come home at night and, feel kind of beat up sometimes. And it's nice. It's a good feeling to know that my children are behind me.
Yeah.
My parents are behind me, my brother, all my extended friends that do so much good work in this community.
Yeah.
So much good work in this community. I've had one of the wonderful experiences of campaigning and being on, on this campaign trail, so to speak, is that you naturally try to reach out to as many people as you can. That's part of it because you want people to get to know you. You want people to see who you are. But more importantly, you want to see what their concerns are. You want to speak to them. So part of that has been going to churches, different churches on Sunday mornings, which is a wonderful way to spend your Sunday morning. And you realize that, I've always realized, but a lot of people don't realize the importance of the houses of worship we have in Norwalk. What a diverse variety we have.
Yeah.
What a wonderful group of pastors and priests, and we have so much here in Norwalk to offer. And when you go speak to these people, that's also very much a grounding effect. You really come to realize what is important.
Yes.
And what's important is each other.
Yes.
And that good comes from what you do.
Yeah.
So that's been an incredibly important experience on this campaign issue here. And it's just, because I attend St. Philip's Church. That's right. There you go. My first communion was there. My daughter's actually getting married there very soon.
Oh, that's going to be beautiful.
So that's kind of my home base.
Yeah.
But to go to different houses of worship is just an amazing experience,
Yeah.
and I highly recommend everyone do it.
Yeah.
Because the first thing is, even when most people didn't know who I am, when you walk in, you have a feeling of love,
Yep.
of warmth, of welcoming.
Yep.
That it's just incredible. It's incredible.
True.
It uplifts your soul, and
true.
it really gives you true joy.
Yeah.
In what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's another aspect of this. you realize that you draw this energy from other people. And that's one of the things that keeps me going too. The energy that people, have projected toward me because they want change in Norwalk.
Yeah.
They want to feel as if they're part of the process. They want to feel as if they're being considered. Their thoughts and their concerns are being weighted in every decision. So the energy that they are putting on me, it just makes me more and more, it just makes me stronger every day in this campaign. It just makes me stronger every single day and makes me realize that I've still got that one purpose, and they just fortify that.
Yeah, I must say that I almost got a little teary-eyed because I know the exact feeling of being a place of worship on a Sunday morning, and so I think that it is amazing to be able to connect with different people where they go to get grounded. And so I thank you for sharing that because I must admit, just hearing you speak about it, I know what that means, and it's like a reset for the week.
It certainly
and then
is.
when you're resetting with people where they go to reset, so that's even more of a way to connect and build those bridges. And so you talked a lot about your family. You talked a lot about community, and those are obviously very deep values for you. Are there any other core beliefs that you would like to highlight that have shaped who you are today?
Core beliefs. Well, I'm a business person first and foremost. That I realize that you need to have a prosperous business. You have to be completely committed. There's no hours during the day. There's always going to be setbacks. There's always going to be difficulty, but you have to work hard to be successful, and that applies to anything. And this is what I try to impress upon young people too: that I need to work hard to be successful. And you start out by asking who had an impact in my life growing up. When I was 17 years old, I worked for a place in Stamford, summer job sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the owner's father was retiring from New York City and moved to Los Angeles to be with his sister. He was a China importer-exporter, and he wanted to drive his U-Haul full of China out there. He didn't trust anyone, so it was an older gentleman that grew up in England, and he survived the bombing of England, and he had started a business there, and it succeeded, and then after the war it fell apart, and he had to do it all over again. But this was at the time, must have been a very young man. I guess if he was alive today, he'd probably be 110, 120. But this 7-day car ride to Los Angeles with this man sitting next to me as I drove was just so informative. It was like a 7-day educational class. It's 7 or 8 hours a day about his life experiences as a European and what he had to overcome. And when you think of what people have as problems today, that their phone broke, or what they consider problems. Problems would be having bombs fall out of the sky on you and your family and destroy your city, and to come back stronger than ever. Have it destroy your business, have it destroy your family, and to come back stronger than ever and be able to talk about it. And so I learned an awful lot about business and business experience and what it takes to run a business from that older gentleman. He was absolutely amazing. But you have to have a prosperous business. If you do not, you have nothing to give.
Yeah.
You have nothing to give.
And so you said it took you 7 days to drive to.
Well, the first day we left New York City kind of late.
Okay.
So that was just done.
Yeah.
We left New York City, and then I think we stopped in southern New Jersey or something the first night. It was kind of a waste. And then the last day we got to L.A., it was just a couple of hours. We had a couple hours left.
No, but that's
of the
pretty
trip.
amazing. I must say, I always wanted to do like a train ride across the country, but I don't know if I want to drive across the country. But that's an amazing time to spend with someone and let them pour into you. And I love a good car ride for that. I know some people don't like road trips, but road trips are nice because it's a different way to connect.
It was incredible. And you realize how vast this country is and how much of it is empty. Oh, well, I'm going back a long time now, but it's still the same way. And you get to meet so many different people and different walks of life everywhere, and their attitudes and whatnot. And one of the most important things I learned from that older gentleman was to stay in shape and be fit. He would run, every morning.
It's good for your mind. It's good for your health.
He would, if we had stopped at a hotel with a pool, he would do laps.
Yeah.
And he was a senior citizen at that point, and he was in great shape. So it's one of the many things he taught you.
Yes.
Take care of yourself. Your body's a temple, as they say.
Yeah, my dad was very much so about going to the gym every day, or at least walking 5 miles or something. So I can relate to that.
But that gentleman taught me to be strong, tough, and always do the right thing in business. Always take care of your customers. Make sure that your customers are happy that they've received value, always think of what's best for your customer first.
Yes.
Is the one thing I always took from him. It's not what's best for the business. It's what's best for the customer.
Absolutely.
And that's always that's something I've taken with me my entire business life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that, because I think it's important to just know, like, where do our beliefs come from? How do they get shaped? And so I love that you spoke about that today. So I know that for me. As a parent, I have lots of different causes that I'm very passionate about. I mean, and also just being my own person, and So what is a cause that you feel deeply connected to? That is it's something that you're very passionate about. It could be something related to policies or politics, but it also could just be something that is deeply important to you as a person. What is that cause?
Well, the causes I care deeply about are kind of like my hobbies. There's many of them. There's many of them. So some of the causes that I've helped with over the years that I find very important, I'll give you some examples if I'm using the user names. One of them would be I raised money through a volleyball tournament. I used to have charity volleyball tournaments. I would sponsor the whole thing, and all the money went to the organization. It was Room to Grow. Room to Grow, I think, is a fantastic organization because they help with daycare and preschool education for families that can't afford it. And one of the biggest factors in families breaking up and becoming dysfunctional is money and funding and that sort of thing. Mom's off to work, dad's off to work, the kids are, how do you pay for daycare for the kids? How do you pay for their preschool education? So that is an organization that helps with that. And so an organization like that helps families stay together and thrive has got my 100% support.
Yeah.
It really does, That's an important one when it comes to families and supporting families. That's one way that I do that. I was the president of the Norwalk Seaport Association, and in that, the environment is very, very important to me. I'm a very strong environmentalist. I think that we need to make sure that we leave an environment for our kids and our grandchildren. It's probably the singular most important thing you could do,
absolutely.
For certain. And we're so blessed and fortunate to have the Long Island Sound and the Barrier Islands and the beach. But it's unfathomable that we have so many children in our community that have never even been to the beach.
Exactly.
Let alone on a boat to go out to Sheffield Island and be taught about what's out there in the environment. So when I was president, my number one focus was to raise money for that ends, was to bring underserved children to Sheffield Island, to bring them out there, bring them on the boat, and teach them about the environment. You can't expect people to be concerned with the environment if they were never taught about the environment. They're not suddenly going to be 20 years old and say, oh yeah, I care about the sound or the water or the cleanliness of our water.
Yes.
So I thought that was important. So as far as the environment goes, that was my contribution to that. So there's others. I could go on.
No, but I love that, and with Manresa Wiles coming, I think that's going to be another opportunity. How do we make sure that people who live here, work here, are from here, connect to a space and really understand the beauty of that? So I really, really, the environment is so important because we have to make sure we leave it for them. So what do you want future generations, I think this kind of speaks to it a little bit, to understand about your desire to be in public office?
Well, my desire to be in public office is to make sure that people, especially as far as the future concerning Norwalk, which is what my concern is. That's my little niche of the world that I want to take care of and be in charge of. I want to make sure that young people are able to stay here, first and foremost. That's a number one issue for me, is that families are able to stay together, stay here, make an investment, purchase a home, and build a life here. That's the most important thing, because if your children could build a life here, their children could build a life here. I know it sounds a little old-fashioned, but there's nothing more wonderful than having grandma or grandpa live near you, or your aunt and uncle, or your children near you, or children be near their siblings, and be able to do that not just through rental apartments, but be able to purchase a home, so someday they could realize the American dream. If you're struggling to pay rent now, you're going to be struggling to pay rent 30 years from now. So I really want to try to build a sense of community here where people want to stay. And young people are positioned now to be in that realm of what's going to work for them in the future, what's going to work for them in the future. Not so much what's going to affect me, but the seniors, that's a whole nother area. But I want to make sure that the young people here know that if they choose to stay here, they're going to have a city that's financially responsible, that's environmentally clean, that takes their concerns first and foremost when governing.
Yeah.
And that they're able to live, and they're able to live a good quality of life.
Yeah.
That's what I want them to take away from my candidacy.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to set up here. I'm trying to set up, a budgetary process that goes long-term, that with real, with the reality as to what we're facing now, to make sure that we are building that community that they're able to stay in for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, and their children will be here, and their families will be here, their friends will be here. They'll be a lifer at whatever, if they choose to go to a church, that they'll be able to say, at the end of it all, I had a great quality of life in Norwalk.
Yeah.
And that's what kept me here, because I've always thought that I can't think of a better place I'd want to live.
Yeah.
Norwalk is wonderful.
Yeah.
Especially because of the people that are here.
Yeah,
And the
absolutely.
people that I grew up with. So I'm thankful that I grew up in that city. And myself and a lot of people feel as if that's slipping away in so many ways. And, people say, well, we're at the point of no return. I don't believe that. I think we're a fantastic city here that has done so much that's good. And I think we have so much potential for what I was talking about, keeping people here, keeping families here, have people make investments here and become a real part of the community.
Vinny, I really appreciate you speaking about your desire, what you want people to understand, because, I've made a choice to live here in Norwalk. I mean, my son will have a very similar story to you, where we moved here before he was 2 years old. And so he's going to be from Norwalk. I've made a choice. And I think it's important to acknowledge that we want people to come here, live here, stay here.
Stay here.
We have to figure that out, and I really appreciate you sharing that, and that's important for future generations. It has been an absolute pleasure to dig a little deeper. We've got to connect a little bit more. I hope that this conversation adds to the conversation in our community. You are running for mayor, so I definitely want you to be able to share, how can people learn more about your campaign?
Well, I go to my website, Vinny for the People 2025, and we have, Facebook, we have Instagram, we have TikTok now. But just look me up and find. If not, at my website, you can always reach out to me. And if you want a phone call, I'll be happy to call you. I'll meet anyone for coffee at any time. If you have a neighborhood organization you'd like me to come and speak to, I'd be happy to. I'm wide open. Anytime somebody wants me, anytime, any place, anywhere, I will be there and we could talk. I love the opportunity. I would love the opportunity to speak to people that have, further questions or comments, or really want to get to know me more. And I'm open to that all the time. So I would really appreciate that. It would be a wonderful thing if people would do that.
Yeah.
I've had quite a great amount of response. I've had many people reach out to me, and we spent a lot of time doing this, and it's just been such a wonderful experience and a wonderful pleasure to meet so many people from this part of town with all different ideas, all different concepts of what they want Norwalk to be like, a lot of concerns, and what they'd like to, what they'd like to see change. So that's the best way to really get into the grassroots conversations with the people that may or may not vote for you. Yeah. And I welcome all opinions from every end of the political spectrum. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you if you may not agree with, you may agree that the direction of the city is what you want. I would like to see a change and become more community-minded. But we can have that conversation, and that's what I want people to reach out to me, and that's what I'd like the opportunity to do. Just, I say to people, just give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and we'll have a wonderful conversation. I'm sure that when you walk away from that conversation, you will be happy, you will be glad you did it.
Yes, absolutely. And, and the whole purpose of Norwalk Talks is to bring people together and just have a good conversation. So with that, you can find Vinny on VinnyForThePeople2025.com. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. And Vinny, I look forward to seeing you around town.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thanks, man.
All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Norwalk Talks. If you enjoyed this talk, share this episode with a friend and sign up for our monthly newsletter on our website. Our website is norwalkacts.org. If you're on social media, find us at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn. Once again, thanks for joining us here at Norwalk Talks.